Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another vocational session of OLC4O Term 2B, brought to you by WASA Distance Education Center. So I chose the my opening word of the day, vocational, because today's class is going to be talking about cover letters and applying for work, and expressing who you are as a person to try to get the attention of a potential employer. So that's where we're going with this class today. And today's date is Monday, May 29th, 2023, and this marks class 24 of OLC4O Term 2B. We are continuing our discussion of Unit 3, and we are now on to assignment number 36. And if I didn't mention that, I'm your instructor, Mike Laverty. Thanks to be on the air with you today. All right, so here's some important dates to keep in mind. We are beginning week 7 of Term 2B today. So for any potential grads out there, your deadline for submitting work is June the 9th. Any other students have a deadline of June the 16th for submitting work in this course. So coming up very, very soon, okay? So you need to have your work, all your coursework submitted by those deadlines, and then after that you could potentially schedule your final exam for after that date, but you would need to submit all of your coursework. So once again, that's June 9th for potential grads and June 16th for anyone else who just wants to complete their course in Term 2B. Now, very important. After those dates, you would need to register for the summer term and start your course all over again. So just want to make sure that people are aware of that important requirement. So you have to have those assignments in, or if you miss that deadline, then you have to re-register for the summer term and then start submitting your assignments all over again. So we are still talking about Unit 3, and we are starting our discussion of Week 7. We will finish off Unit 3 sometime this week, and then go on to Unit 4, maybe at the end of this week, maybe at the start of next week, and then we'll have the final exam preparation. So I'll do my best to get you ready to write the final exam, which is worth 20% of your final mark. So keep that in mind. So your coursework is worth 70%. You've got to hand in a literacy portfolio. That's another 10%. And then you got your final exam, which will need to be arranged. You have to write that final exam in your community at a learning center. We need to have someone be in the room with you while you watch that. So that takes a bit of organization. So if you got any questions about that, feel free to reach out. So OLC4O broadcasts every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 1 p.m. to 1:50 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can always phone into the studio at 1-800-465-7144, or locally here in Sioux Lookout at 1-807-737-4017. Phone in with any questions or comments. We're on the air at 91.9 FM. We're picked up on Bell ExpressVu channel 972, and you can reach out to us on Zoom. You can connect to my classes on Zoom. So if you go to zoom.us or open the Zoom application on your phone, click Join Meeting. My meeting ID is 417-6699-799. And of course, all of my YouTube videos are archived on my YouTube channel. So if you just search for Laverty space WASA, you can watch my YouTube videos there. Check out my OLC4O playlist. Okay, reach out to me directly at mlaverty@nneCschools.org, or find me on Facebook Messenger at Laverty WASA, so Laverty space WAHSA. You can also phone the WASA office at 1-807-737-1488, extension 2211 to get me, or just phone that number and talk to the receptionist. If you have any questions about graduation and completing your coursework, you can phone us toll free at 1-800-667-3703. And at this point in the course, you should have pretty much assignments in Unit 1 and Unit 2 completely taken care of, and done about half of the assignments in Unit 3. That's if you want to stay on pace to have this course done in a couple of weeks, and read up to Chapter 9 of Jimmy Comes Home, so have most of that novel read. All right, so here is today's lesson. We will have a look at our article of the day. Look at our words of the day, look at our article, today's headline, and then we'll look at Unit 3, Lesson 14, Assignment 36, which is called Writing a Cover Letter. And then we'll get some cover letter tips from the experts. So I got a couple of articles that we can look at together just to, keep you on track and give you some expert advice on writing the very important document that is the cover letter. So your learning goals are to look at an example of a cover letter, to create a model of your own. That's Assignment 36. Take notes on the proper formatting of a cover letter and begin brainstorming ideas for your cover letter. And to take notes as we review online articles about writing cover letters. It's basically just paying attention, jotting down notes, especially the things that stand out to you, and the things that are going to help guide you towards making your assignment. Your success criteria will be to find a job advertisement either online or by visiting an employment center, band office, etc. Review the requirements of the job and start planning your cover letter. So for this assignment, you have to, find a job advertisement, again, either by going somewhere, going to a physical location, or finding this online, and then maybe create an outline for your cover letter, or even begin drafting your rough copy, because the Assignment 36 has a rough copy component and a final copy component. So, as I like to do before we get into our words of the day, I like to put up a couple of images to sort of get some conversation going. So if you don't have the images in front of you, I will do my best to use my powers of description to let you know. So the first one is just simply text. It looks like a handwritten cover letter that says, "Hello, I'm applying for the graphic design position," which is kind of a joke because they are not using their graphic design abilities very well. And this kind of reminds me of when I used to work at the public library here, and I once had a young boy apply for the job of student page, which is just putting books back on the shelf, and he had written his cover letter in pencil crayon, and it was very cute. And I did interview him. He unfortunately didn't get the job. He was just a little bit too young, which I know is unfortunate, especially when you're young and you show a lot of initiative and you want to get a job. But I just didn't think he was quite ready. But it was just kind of an amusing story. But it does create a very powerful first impression, with your employers, right? With the people you're trying to impress, that you want to, make every attempt to look professional, make it look like you know what you're doing, even if you're not 100% there. Just it's good to just give that impression that you're confident and you have given some thought, and that's really something that we should really emphasize here with this discussion about cover letters and about looking for employment and trying to get someone's attention, trying to give them an opportunity, or trying to make them give you a chance, to give you an opportunity to show who you are. And if people see that you put thought into it and you haven't just fired a document off, you didn't just do it because it's part of the requirements, I think that's what gets people's attention. Like, okay, this person put some thought into this. They did some research. They actually want this thing. And they're willing to articulate it and to express themselves. Right. That's for sure. That's what gets my attention. Right. So, just simply saying I want this job is not enough. the other political cartoon, or the other cartoon is a man being interviewed, and the man conducting the interview says, "A vibrant imagination is an excellent quality for the job, but not the CV." Right? So, CV stands for curriculum vitae. We'll get to that in our discussion on resumes, but it's good to have an imagination, and it's good to be able to articulate yourself as a writer. But of course, you don't want to make things up, and we want to be, truthful and follow that 7 grandfather teaching of honesty, right? And to have the integrity to, express ourselves, and we want to express the best version of ourselves, of course. But we don't want to stretch the truth, and we don't want to lie to our employers because, at worst we won't get the job, or if we do, we can be kind of exposed for it later, and that's a situation you do not want to find yourself in. All right, so here's our words of the day. We have an Anishinaabe-Moan word, mikwanoki, a verb. Mikwanoki is she or he finds work, finds a job. English, employ, which is to hire or engage the services of a person or persons. Provide employment for, have, or keep in one's service. From the Latin implicare, which is to be involved in or attached to, right? So people who are employed, and the employer and the employee are attached. They're involved. They're implicated with each other. They are, they're engaged with each other in some way or form. Here's some other Anishinaabe-Moan words that come to mind here. So we've got inanuj, which is to hire to do a certain job, hire to go to a certain place. Gwinawanuki is she or he is unable to find work, unable to find a job. So, gawin, I believe, means don't, or don't do that, right? So, I think sometimes in Anishinaabe-Moan, when you had that GWI prefix, so if we go back, that wanuki, that root has to do with employment, and this gwinawanuki is she or he is unable to find work, unable to find a job. So, again, hopefully my pronunciation is okay, and but I'm trying my best here. Please let me know if I ever pronounce a word wrong. I'd love to be corrected. All right, so in English, we have a couple of related words. Curriculum vitae, as I just mentioned. Sometimes it's called a curriculum vitae. That's a detailed account of one's work experience, professional training, and educational background as prepared by a person applying for a job. So from the Latin cure, which is to run, and curriculum, which means course, and vitae means life. So it's literally like the course of your life. Human resources, these are the people, especially the personnel employed by a given company, institution, or the like. From the Latin humanus, which is man or human being, and surgere, which is to rise, and resorde, which is to rise again and recover, right? So that's a resource is something you can, we talk about renewable resources, things that kind of come and go, and things that, and that's what a resource is, right? It's something that you can kind of recover again, and that's why some people don't especially like the term human resources, because it basically equates humans with like a resource that a company can just sort of like gather and harvest and collect. But in a sense, that is what they do. And if you want to be part of the team, then you've got to make yourself, on some level, you've got to make yourself appear to be a valuable resource that they can kind of harvest, and they can collect and add to their team. Unless you want to have your own business and be your own boss, you have to join forces with another organization and sort of do what you can to make them give you a chance. All right, so here's our article of the day. This is from the Globe and Mail. So it was a 2-part article. It was like a collection of articles about employment and people trying to find meaning in their life and looking for new jobs. So 9 ways to love your job again, plus how to make your cover letter stand out. So I'm going to read like a very brief excerpt from the article that's 9 ways to love your job again, and an article that's about ways to make your cover letter stand out. So that's the headline of the article. 9 ways to love your job again. So 9 is an adjective that modifies ways. It tells me how many ways there are. Prepositions are relationship words. So these are 9 ways to love your job again. So your is a pronoun, and it basically stands for like the readers, right? So so anyone who's reading this, it's your job again. Plus, how to make your cover letter stand out. Just for time's sake, I won't go too far into these parts of speech, but it is good for you to recognize the 9 parts of speech and to and just identify how these words function to create meaning. All right, so the article, one passage in the article that I thought was really important to emphasize to you today is identify your impact. What is the ultimate outcome of what you do? Again, this is when you've kind of lost interest in a job, or you need ways to be kind of reinvigorated and to become more inspired. And that's where people usually find themselves, right? If they're applying for a new job, if they're looking for a new job, on some level, the job they have has become unsatisfactory, right? There's something in them that's not really fulfilling them, or they just need more money, or they need benefits, or they need something else that the current job is not giving them. And the advice in this article is to sort of maybe give things a second chance, and maybe to reconsider where you are. So what is the ultimate outcome of what you do? Not at the micro level, right? So micro means microscopic. So not at the what you do like every day, the little details, but think big picture. Do you make someone's life easier? Do you provide information that will help others solve their problems? Are you the voice of reason when another person is in a crisis? Every job has an impact that is greater than what you see in front of you. A hospital janitor ensures patients avoid infections. A bus driver gives those without vehicles access to food and medical care. Look for your impact, and your job will have more meaning, right? So I think that's good advice. And even if you're not thinking of changing careers, and if you're thinking about writing a cover letter, that might be a good approach to take with your cover letter. Like in general, just think about how the work you've done has been meaningful, right? And we don't have to be starting orphanages and curing cancer to have a meaningful change, right? It's these little things that truly matter, right? So just how has your employment been meaningful, and how have you contributed to the goals of an organization? That's what employers want to hear. Focus on what you can influence. Even if you're not a perfectionist, switch your focus from what is outside your control to what you can influence. Then you'll at least have some chance of success. Too much red tape being imposed by head office? Fixing that may be beyond what you are capable of. But you can always find things you can do at your level to buffer your team members from the impact. Right? So just, again, sometimes people get dissatisfied because they want to change things, and they want to influence things, and they want to make a difference, and they get disgruntled. But if you focused on what you're actually capable of doing, you can always find ways that you can be, as they say, impactful, and you can make an influence. And not to give up on those bigger things, but sometimes we can worry too much about things that we can't change at the expense of the things that we can actually change, and the things that we can have an influence over. Here's the advice they give on the cover letters, and we're going to come back to this. But they have a tip, and it's creating a strong template that clearly identifies the following. Number 1, who are you? State your experience, years, function, and industry. If you have recently completed a certification or degree, feel free to add education, right? So experience and education are key in the cover letter. Where have you worked, and what training do you have? That should be, first and foremost what you're talking about. Why are you applying? This should include your skill set with a concrete example from a past experience. This is a great place to add in quantifiable metrics to showcase your success. Okay, so let's break down those words. So if something is quantifiable, then I can add numbers to it. It's very specific. Like in this job, I did this. I helped. When I was a manager, I helped 3 stores get off the ground. Or when I was working in retail, I met sales expectations for 4 months in a row. Right. So that's when something is quantifiable. Right. So it's you need to be able to show how you're successful. In real terms. Number 3, why are you interested in this employer specifically? So they mentioned LinkedIn here, and I'll talk about LinkedIn towards the end of today's class. But basically, you can research the employer and see how you connect with them or with their hiring leads. So LinkedIn is like a social network for businesses and professional people. But you can also go to a company's website, their Facebook page, Instagram, their YouTube channel, and try to find out what the people and these organizations are passionate about. And that's going to give you reasons why you might want to work for them, right? So if you can find out what somebody cares about and then attach yourself to that and explain how you can help them achieve that goal, that's one way to make friends with powerful people and people that can change your life, or how to establish yourself with an organization, how to join a team that's doing good work. You have to find out what they care about, and then once you find out what they care about, you've got to explain how you can contribute, how you can help them achieve those goals, right? All right, which brings us to the assignment itself. Okay, so I made a mistake at the top there. Let's adjust that. So this is of course Unit 3, Lesson 14, Assignment 36. We are writing a cover letter, 30 marks. So we've got a rough copy, 15 marks, and a final copy, 15 marks. Okay, so that's really important to keep in mind. Okay, you've got to make sure that you hand in both. Okay, so always pay attention to those assignment guidelines, right? So it's if it asks for a rough and a final, I want to see both of those, right? And whenever possible, if I can see examples where you've marked up and you've edited and you've changed your cover letter, that would be great. That's what I want to see there. So as you prepare to develop your letter, think about your purpose and your audience, and provide the most important details of information you can as an introduction to your resume. Once again, there should be no mistakes in spelling, grammar, and punctuation. So your rough copy, for sure, it can be rough. There could be some rough work in there. Rough in the sense of spelling mistakes, and things just aren't phrased as cleanly as they can, and you might have some punctuation and grammar issues throughout there. But when it comes time for that final copy, it should be as clean as possible, and you can't really overstate the importance of producing a clean cover letter, because again, I want to come back to that concept of showing people that you've taken the time to compose this thing, and you've put in the intent, and you've been careful, and you've been deliberate. You have you've written something with intention, right? You've put a lot of thought into it, right? And that's what's got to come through, right? A good cover letter, you can see how someone's put thought into it, right? They've put their time, energy into making this thing kind of shine, and that should really jump off from the very first page. And so, from rough to final copy, there should be a noticeable difference. And the rough copy, you're getting your general ideas down the page, and then you punch them up and you make them a lot stronger when it comes time to write the final copy. Okay, so here we go. So when we write a cover letter, it's important to note that we have a particular format that you can follow, right? So, and we've talked about templates and formatting in this course before. So, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to create a cover letter from scratch. There are plenty of examples that you can find online, and we're going to look at a few of those towards the end of today's class. But this is the basic formatting that you should be following when you write your cover letter. So number one, you're going to have a header. Number two, you're going to have a salutation. Number three is going to be your opening paragraph. Number four is going to be your middle paragraph or paragraphs, depending on how much you want to say. I will mention that it's nice if you can get this thing onto one page. So you may want to use like a 10-point font. Don't use a huge font. You want to try to get this on one page. So you want to have shorter paragraphs, and you might have 4 or 5 in total. Probably not more than that. So an opening, couple of middle paragraphs, and then a closing paragraph. And then your complimentary close and your signature. And that's the way it's done. So we'll have a look at a cover letter. So this is an example of an actual cover letter that was sent out. And it's written by a woman named Maxine Francois from Guelph, Ontario. It's got her, her fake phone number and email there. The date she sent it, who it was sent to, and then we've got the first paragraph, the opening paragraph. We've got a couple of middle paragraphs, and then we have a closing paragraph that thanks the employer for their consideration and their time, and them looking forward to learning more about the job and the position. Then we have the complimentary close and the signature. All right, so this is the header. Now the header is at the top of the page, and the most common way to format this, and what you're going to see from most cover letters, is everything is left justified. So all of my text is aligned with this a border on the left-hand side of the screen. And so my header the header is my information, right? So Maxime Francois, Guelph, Ontario. So your name, your mailing address, your phone number, and contact information, right? So now it depends on how you're applying for a job. If you're applying through the mail, or you're physically dropping off a letter, then usually you would have your full address. And then if you're applying online, usually just like the city you're from, and then like your contact information. One thing to keep in mind is this has to be contact information that you consult regularly, right? So it might seem like a minor thing, but I've certainly had the experience of receiving someone's application, getting their cover letter and their resume in the mail, and then trying to phone them, and the phone's not in service, or you try to email them, and the email bounces back. And so just be really careful and triple check, because you'd be amazed at how many people will put the wrong phone number down, right? It's such a very careless mistake that can be made. But just triple check that. Make sure the phone number is correct. Make sure it's an email address that you're checking constantly. It has to be something that you're going to check, right? So if and when that employer decides to reach out to you and says, hey, do you want to have an interview, it's really important to get back to them right away, right? You don't want you don't want much time to go by before they get back to you, right? So the first chunk of this header is your address. Then we see a space, right? Then you put the date, January 23rd, 2021. Then a space, and then it's the company info, right? It's so that it's their info. So it's your info, all put together in one block, then a space, then the date, then a space, and then their information. So you've got the name of the company, so the name of the employer, attention manager, and then you put their address, right? So you would put their full address here. Now, it's if you can, I think it's always best to get someone's full name. So even if the job posting says, like, please send to hiring manager, or please forward to human resources, if you can do a phone call or just check their website and just if you can find out the person's name, doesn't hurt to put their name on it. It might not go to them directly, but hey, it might. And I don't think there's any kind of risk in just finding out the person who runs the human resource department and put their name on it, right? But most job applications will have a specific email address or a title to address it to. The second part is the salutation, right? So if you know their name, you put it. So, Dear Nancy Wilson. And if you don't know their name, put the title down, right? And if you do a bit of digging, again, if you go on their website, go on their Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or something, right? You should, or Google business profiles, right? You should be able to find someone's full name, right? And if you can't, then make sure you get the job title right. So if we look at it's their information, the date, your information, space, the date, space, their information. Then you put their name or their title. That's the salutation. Dear is just fine. And then you get to the first paragraph of your essay, which is really important. Okay, so, and you want to reference the job you're applying for immediately. You want to make sure that's mentioned right off the bat. So, this woman said, "I'm excited to apply for the web developer position at Craft Pages. I've been programming websites and using CSS to create user-friendly experiences since I was in middle school. So it's always been a passion of mine. I've also been intrigued by your company ever since it won Most Innovative at the National Web Development Awards 2 years ago. I strive to stay on the cutting edge of web design and development. So when I saw this job posting, I knew I had to apply." So reference the job you want, the job you're applying for, and tell the employer why you want to work for them and their team, right? So that's to immediately show that you've done your research. You're not just sending the same cover letter to 10 different employers. And that is, that's something we should talk about too, because that is what a lot of people do when they're on the job hunt. They may send a cover letter to 5 or 6 or 10 different employers, but what you want to do is you want to take your basic cover letter template and your model, and you want to make it unique for each employer. Put the work in, put the research in, and that's going to just really, really greatly improve your chances of getting an interview. So this person, says, "I want this job. I've been programming for a while," and they sort of mention this award that the company won, and just make sure you know what that award is and you know things about it, because if they ask you about it in the job interview and you just threw it in there as a throwaway line because you Googled it, then you're going to be in trouble, right? So don't put anything in the cover letter that you can't back up with a good explanation. The second paragraph, okay? So this is where you discuss your most relevant experience, your skills and qualifications that make you the right person for the job, right? So this is where you you really get into your work experience and your training and your, again, this whole document is to sell you as a writer. Sorry, as a potential employee. At my current role with Lexar Limited, I constructed a brand new website from the beginning for a startup business, both within budget and ahead of the scheduled release. I spent plenty of time meeting with the client and performing user research to make sure I delivered the perfect product. My new website was responsive, lightning fast, and included the latest e-commerce features. Okay, um, so that's her most relevant experience right there, right? So she's, I made this website and it's awesome, right? So that's getting their attention. Paragraph 2, discuss other experience, skills, and qualifications that make you the right person for the job. So this is similar to how we structured the or how I wanted you to structure your news report, where the most important information is coming at the start, and the least important information is coming at the bottom, right? So it's not that this stuff is not important. It's not that you don't need to. Can you hear me? Oh, it's not that it's not that it's not important information. It's not that you shouldn't mention it. It's just that the other stuff should come first, right? So you want to lead with your best stuff, right? You want to play your best card right off the bat. You want to grab their attention, and then with these other paragraphs, this prospective employee has mentioned that she was attracted to this job because Craft Pages, the company she's applying to, values giving back to the community. In my spare time, I run free web development workshops for at-risk youths. In those workshops, I teach them the basics of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and serve as a mentor. Don't worry if you don't know what that means. It's just web development stuff. As I grow in my career, applying my skills to help others and make an impact on the world becomes more important. I believe this role would give me that opportunity. So again, she's connecting herself with what they do. So they give back to the community. They do volunteer work. They do all that stuff. And she's like, you know what? I do that stuff too. That's why I'd be a good fit. And this is the closing. Thank you for your consideration and time. I'm looking forward to learning more details about the position and company. If you have any questions about my qualifications, please feel free to call or email me. So your closing paragraph is where you thank them for their time, and you provide a call to action or the next step. So that's really important, okay? So you want to provide a call to action. You want to tell them, like, specifically, please phone me, send an email. I'm ready to go, and I look forward to hearing from you. Then you do your complimentary close and your signature, and this is where you say sincerely or all the best or something to that effect. Then you could say best, respectfully, regards. Those are all fine. And then you actually sign it. So always sign a paper copy. And then I would say, even if you're sending a digital cover letter to an employer, I would suggest that you find a way to get your actual signature on there, right? So there's many ways you can do this. You can, sign a paper copy and then scan it to a PDF and then send the PDF to the employer. There's apps on your phone where you can sign something on your phone and then it'll sort of save an image that you can copy and paste into a Word document. So depending on how tech savvy you are, right? I think it's best to actually sign the document and have a real signature on the page. So it's your close, so sincerely, an actual signature, and then your printed name at the bottom. Okay, and that is how to write a cover letter. So I mentioned that I wanted to have a look at some guidance here from the experts. So this is the Harvard Business Review, how to write a cover letter. So I'll just Google that. So that's the Harvard Business Review. How to write a cover letter. Okay, so there we go. Here's our summary. Perhaps the most challenging part of the job application process is writing an effective cover letter. And yes, you should send one. Even if only 1 in 2 cover letters gets read, that's still a 50% chance that including one could help you. Even before you start writing, find out more about the company and the specific job you want. Next, catch the attention of the hiring manager or recruiter with a strong opening line. If you have a personal connection with the company or someone who works there, mention it in the first sentence or two, and try to address your letter to someone directly. Hiring managers are looking for people who can help them solve problems. So show that you know what the company does and some of the challenges it faces. Then explain how your experience has equipped you to meet those needs. If the online application doesn't allow you to submit a cover letter, use the format you're given to demonstrate your ability to do the job and your enthusiasm for the role. So again, these are the tips that I've already mentioned to you. Right? So a strong opening line, a strong opening paragraph. Show them you've done your research. Make a meaningful connection to this company and to you, right? So you want to connect you to the company. And the article goes on to say, no one likes job hunting. Scouring through online job listings, spiffing up your resume, prepping for grueling interviews, none of it is fun. For many, the most challenging part of the process is writing an effective cover letter. There's so much conflicting advice out there, it's hard to know where to start. Do you even need one, especially if you're applying through an online system? What the experts say. The answer is almost always yes. Sure, there will be times when you're submitting an application online and you may not be able to include one, but whenever possible, says Jody Glickman, a communications expert and author of Great on the Job, it's your best chance of getting the attention of the HR person or hiring manager, an important opportunity to distinguish yourself from everyone else. Okay, so that's really important, right? You want to distinguish yourself from other people. You want to stand out. So, do your research, find out what this company is all about, and, try to make it look like you'd be a perfect fit with them, right? Focus on the future. Okay, so your resume, which we'll look at tomorrow, is meant to be a look back at your experiences and where you've been. The cover letter should focus on the future and what you want to do, right? So the cover letter is going to talk about it will talk about your past experiences, right? Because you have to sort of sell yourself, but your cover letter should also explain like what you're going to do for this company in the future, right? They mentioned something really important there, I think, about companies like to hire people who solve problems, right? So show them how you're going to solve problems, right? Show the employer how you're going to get in there and you're going to solve some of their problems. You're going to join that team. Open strong. I think we've covered that one in great detail today. You want to open strong. Start with the punchline. Why do you find this job exciting and why do you want it? And what makes you the best person for the job? Emphasize your personal value, right? Emphasize what makes you an effective problem solver. Convey enthusiasm. Sometimes they say sometimes you don't get hired and it's not because of a lack of skills, it's because people didn't believe your story. They didn't believe you wanted the job or that you knew what you were getting into, right? So make it clear, you know what you're getting into, you're all in, all the chips are on the table, you want this job, and you're not taking no for an answer. Watch the tone, don't go overboard with flattery, right? You don't want to sound desperate. You don't want it, it's you don't want to go over the top and just say flattery is good. Like you want to say good things about the company, but you don't want to take it too far. Keep it short. Most people say keep it up to a page, and yeah. All right, and then if you go further on that website, they do have some examples and some other things that you can look at. And another there's Indeed.com, and they have a career advice center. So Indeed.com is a great resource. It's where you can go to actually apply for jobs, but it's also so I'll go to Indeed.com, career guide, cover letter. And if you Google that, you're going to get samples and templates, writing a cover letter with tips and examples. That's the one I wanted. How to write a cover letter with tips and examples. So you have a little video you can watch, but if you just scroll down, it tells you some things, what is a cover letter? I hope we have that figured out by now. How to write a cover letter. We've gone through a lot of this. Now, what I'd like to do is look at some examples, right? So 7 key cover letter parts, cover letter samples, okay? So 3 free cover letter templates to create a good first impression. All right, a networking cover letter, an informal cover letter, and an application cover letter. Okay, so yeah, there are different kinds of cover letters. So the application cover letter is usually when you're trying to get a job. There's the prospecting cover letter when the job hasn't been posted, but you're putting yourself out there. Yeah, so you can go to Indeed.com and you can have a look, and they've got a template that just showed that I used, and you can use that too. You just sort of copy and paste that text in there, and then anytime you see the square brackets, you change those, and nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with going from a template. You just got to take the time to make it yours. Actually, before we close today, I forgot to have a look. So if we go to a website like SuLookoutJobs.com, so that's, of course, the Sue Hudson Employment Services located here in Sioux Lookout. And if I go to current jobs, and I see all these jobs here, I got offender transport, physician scheduler, airport interpreter, security, finance and insurance manager, interpreters, head cook, diet. Here's a job that I once did in a former life here, the admitting clerk. An admitting clerk at the Maniawan Health Center. The admitting clerk works collaboratively with all members of the admitting department and the interdisciplinary team to provide excellent client care. So you need your grade 12 or your GED equivalent, business or secretary college program or equivalent, minimum 1 year preferred, completion of medical terminology course preferred, previous related experience and assets. So these are all the things you need to know, which you should mention in your cover letter, right? So you don't have to touch on everything in your cover letter, but you might want to touch upon some of these. Then you read the job duties, running a switchboard, registering patients, maintaining patient activity registers, demonstrating proper confidentiality. The job pays $22 an hour or $23.83, depending on, I'm assuming, your experience and your benefits and all that, or your prior training. And then it says visit our website for more information. So if I'm going to write a cover letter to work at the hospital, I should probably go to the hospital's website and learn as much as I can about them. We have departments and services. Let's see, we have, so the admitting department is not really on here, but you might want to learn as much as you can, about the job. Let's see if I type in admitting. I'm getting more job postings. Okay, so I've got some information about the job, some previous job postings. Let's see, we got some resources here. home. Yeah, so I mean, you just want to learn as much as you can about this organization and what they do, and talk to people who work there. If you can do that, if you can, you want to get as much information as you can. They've got a LinkedIn page, so I might be able to get some information on here. I might find some of the job postings here. I can go to their Facebook page. I can see what they're posting on there, right? I can go to their Twitter and their Facebook, and I can see, what are they posting here? Excellence every time. That looks to be their slogan. And so I can see information that they've posted recently. Let's see, the last thing they did was 5 days ago. But yeah, if I want to learn more about the organization, then I'm going to find it here on their website. And that's going to help me understand more about them as an organization. And hopefully, when it comes time to be interviewed, I'll know what I'm talking about because I've reviewed their website, I've reviewed their Facebook, I've checked out, I've gone to their About page. Let's see. Sometimes they have like a report or like something you can read that tells you more about them, right? So yeah, you just want to mention everything you can about the organization, and you can't fit it all onto one cover letter, but you want to include some things and just say how you'd like to be part of this team. So that is where we'll wrap things up for today. Tomorrow we'll have a similar discussion, and we will have a look at resumes. Okay, so thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.